for a minute there.
Okay, hold on here. Let's sit me
All right.
down.
Okay.
That's goal 0, right?
Okay.
So you have to know what the panel is. Look at the panel right here where it says it only puts out 17.4 at maximum.
Okay.
Okay, that's the operation voltage.
Okay.
Okay. Now we don't got a charge controller, so I can't show you that right at this time. But what I can do is show you. Let's see here.
So what's the operation theory here?
Hold, give me a minute. Let me get this other cord for the light.
All right.
Okay, hold on. And
Okay.
look at that.
Okay, you got 18.
Okay?
Okay.
But the maximum this solar is supposed to put out is only 17.4 volts.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit.
And here's the thing. I'm
You
running
gotta-
2 solars at the same time.
You got to actually put something on it though to really get a good reading.
We understand that.
Like,
But if it was in the sun and I did the same test, it would just show 17.4 volts.
What I mean is like you got to put a load on here.
We understand
Like a
we don't gotta
motor,
put a load. What
something
I'm
on
saying
there.
is, if I'm doing the maximum amount of volts the panel says it's supposed to put out,
Uh huh.
and I put LED lights in here, and I plug it into a battery pack,
Yeah.
and then it's giving me over the rated point. Even if I put it in the sun, I'm not even getting that much power out of those solar cells. Load or no load.
This isn't the power though. This is the voltage.
Yes, of the solar cells.
It's the voltage, but you don't know what the power is. In fact,
No.
there's no.
We're not
There's
talking about the
there's
power
virtually no amperage, so there's actually no power here.
But we're
There's
not
only-
talking, we're just talking about what this solar cell would do and what it won't do.
Yeah, I know, but
So I got 2 of
this
them, right?
17.9 doesn't tell you what it would do.
And the only way
It only tells you what the voltage is on it. And-
Okay. You're making an argument that's not there yet. We're doing this a little bit at a time. We're trying to say where the solar cells. Can those LED lights run those solar cells? I just proved that to you.
yeah, I know the LEDs
Okay.
can make the solar cells create
But
a.
you said you did it and then it was
It
unsuccessful.
can create a voltage. No, I just said it takes a lot of light to
Okay.
do that.
Now, the solar cell, because it's running at full capacity, then
Uh-huh.
you have to do a charge controller. You have to hook all your solar to a charge controller, right? To get amps out of it. That means you have to hook your solar cells in parallel. So this means that this one solar cell will give off 1 amp at 17 points at full thing, only 1 amp.
Well, I mean,
That's what they're gonna do in the sun or not.
in the sun, is that what it says it does in the sunlight? 1 amp in the sun?
Yes, in the sun. That's
What I'm saying is if it does 1 amp in the sun, it's probably not doing 1 amp with
Why would you
LEDs.
say that?
Because those LEDs don't, that's what I was saying, they don't put out that much light.
But they
Like
do.
sunlight's super bright.
And what's the lumens of sunlight?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I did it for my
but
book.
It's a lot.
But guess what? This is 6,500 lumens,
Okay.
which is daylight. Because I bought daylight. Which
So you've
are-
got bright LEDs.
right. And this right here, my solar cells will run half power just with this light right here. And it's a cloudy day. But on a full day, it's only going to put out that.
I understand. What you're still, it seems like what you're trying to do is create like, it's called a perpetual energy machine.
No.
No?
I don't believe it. See, that's what they. Here's the thing with they were saying. I wrote a book on it.
Okay.
It's not perpetual energy. It's indefinite energy.
And what's the difference?
Okay, let me show you the difference. They have a thing called this wheel, which they call the perpetual motion.
Uh-huh.
He says if I pour water down on this wheel and this bucket fills up, and I can pump the water back up to the top, and they says no, that's perpetual motion. It'll run out of power,
Right.
run out of water.
Right.
Now what should I say? I says, what about a ram pump? And then everybody got quiet in the seminar that I was in. And they was like, do anybody know what a ram pump is? It's 100 years old, and it's called a hydraulic pump.
Okay.
And he says, well, yeah, I know what it is, but that pump is not going to stay. I said, who said to use one pump? I says, if you got equal water and you can measure the water, and you put a bunch of pumps pumping the water up that doesn't use electricity, eventually you're going to oversee the amount of water that you need to keep that water wheel pumping. They all went quiet. They all shut up because now they talk about an invention they never wanted to talk about, which is the ram pump, 100 years old, which uses the hydraulics of the water to pump water up 200 feet. Look it up. It's old.
Well, here's the thing. I think what you're saying is like a hydroelectric plant, kind of, right? You can use the flow of the water and get energy out of that.
A small amount.
I mean, just like you can use the sun and you can get energy out of that.
yeah.
So you're getting energy from the sun, so it makes sense up to that point.
Okay,
But what
now
I'm
watch
saying is,
Say I'm only getting
sending the energy into the, here's what I'm saying, sending the energy into these LEDs and then back into the solar cell
But here's the thing.
is very likely less efficient
Look.
than just
Look at this.
sending the
Look at
energy
this.
directly.
Here's what's telling you. You see that?
Yeah, it's 60%, I guess.
Okay. Now watch this. Plug this. No. Did I bring my other plugger? No. I gotta go. Can you plug that in? Now watch this.
Well, I mean, we can plug it in, but like, once we plug it in, we basically,
What will happen?
then we're pulling energy from the wall.
Okay, but wait a minute. If you're pulling energy from the wall, what happens to the battery?
It'll probably start charging.
Okay, will it charge all the way up to the top?
I mean, maybe, as long as this thing is working, it will.
So if I get enough solar to plug this into the solar, I don't care how little power it gives out. If I keep stacking these up and I plug this in, it will charge that all the way up, which keeps the lights on, right?
Yeah, if you keep stacking these. Okay, but you're running these off of a battery. That's what I'm saying. So if you keep stacking these, it's going to keep pulling more and more from the battery.
But it's not pulling because I got individual batteries. The battery pack that I was talking about is going to sit here and it's going to charge just like this one will charge. So if it's fully charged and it's running, it's supporting the LED lights by the battery power, but it's topping it off, which you just said it does do that.
Wait, you're going to have a battery pack for each one of the
Yes.
panels?
That runs.
Then you
12
got to recharge all the battery packs, though.
But that's the point. I only need 1% to charge each one of them battery packs because they're already full. So if they don't have them, the pass-through charging pushes the energy.
I mean,
through
you
the
can
battery.
charge them slowly.
Yes.
Yes, that is, you can
Because
charge them
they're
slow.
full. If they're full, then they can't just drop off, right? It's called a trickle charge.
You can trickle charge it, but if you're running the lights off of it and trying to trickle charge it at the same time, it's gonna eventually drain down.
It goes back to what I said about the water. I said, you're saying one pump. You're saying, oh no, you can't do it because it's going to eventually empty. And I said, a ram pump will pump the water up. Oh, but that's so little. And I said, well, I'll start adding pumps, and then all of a sudden, it's more than the water coming out of it.
You would have to add solar.
Yes, adding solar.
You'd have to add a lot of solar panel. Basically, I don't know what a ram pump is, but it sounds like it gets energy from the moving water, right?
Yes, the hydraulics. The energy comes down.
So it's like your solar cell,
Yes.
basically, in the analogy.
Now watch here. Here's
But
the
what
thing
I'm saying is, you got to just have more
This
solar
is being
cells
patented.
exposed to the
This has already
sunlight.
been sent to a company and they tested it already. So the whole point is that I'm telling you, they're giving me a patent on it because it works. You can't see it, but that's the genius about it. Because I understand how this operated over years to say that I can take a small amount of energy when the battery is full. Once it's full, it will trickle charge that and keep it topped off.
Okay.
Which the physics says It's an equal but opposite coming out. So that means if I put the same amount of energy going into it,
Well, let me back up a little bit. So what's the problem this is intended to solve?
that you can use solar 24 hours. Now,
So
let's do this mathematically. You see that right here? That's for the light.
Okay,
LED
so you
light.
want 24-hour solar, but you've only got to
But
expose.
look at wait a minute. Look at the power coming out. You see that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we turn around and look at this. Look at the power going in.
Well, hang on. Let's slow down. Let me slow down here.
Okay.
This says DC 12 6.6 amps.
Coming out.
Output.
That's the LED light you plug in there. Now what we're
Okay.
putting back into there to make this charge up all the way when instead of draining the battery.
And this says 14.8 at 3 amps.
Okay? So what I'm telling you is if I let you plug this in, whether it's coming from the wall or not, that this battery is never going to drain. It's always going to stay full while using the LED lights. And I did that for 17 years. And then the battery conked out on me.
Okay. All I'm saying is, like, all you really need to do, I think, is charge the battery with the solar panel, though,
Yes.
and then use the battery. I mean,
Yes.
you don't. I think the whole LED thing is not needed because it's like it's using up the transfer of energy
Well,
from
wait
the
a minute,
LED
wait
to
a
the
minute.
solar panels is losing energy.
So
So
where would you get your power from your thing if you do it your way?
I would get the power from the solar cells. I would run it into the battery
But what light would
and
get
charge
into
up the
it?
battery, and then at night when there's no sun, I'd run off the battery.
See, you're trying to stay traditional because you don't want to move forward and says, wait a minute, new science is going to come in.
Uh-huh.
I'm not breaking the laws of physics. What I'm doing is saying that there's equal energy in as equal energy coming out of the system.
Uh-huh.
And if I can do that, if I can put more energy into the battery than I take off the battery, the solar lights don't take that much energy off the battery. That's why
Okay.
they're so efficient. They're not like incandescent lights. So I'm not using the amount of energy that I'm putting back into it. 14 volts, that's a whole lead acid battery. So if the lead acid battery is being charged up, it can never go dead. It'll always top off, always top off. And it was like, wait a minute, but how much are you pulling? This much. And the reason why, because I made the thing called Over Unity. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but I'm the guy who created Over Unity. And everybody kept trying to call it perpetual motion and everything. And I says, no. I says, look here.
Well, this could run forever. Now, I'm not denying that
It's
this.
not going to run forever.
Well, if it's in the sunlight, as long as the components don't
as long
fail.
as it don't break down.
Yeah, as long as the components don't fail and it's in the light half the time or whatever,
means not
whenever the
forever.
daylight's out,
Right.
then yeah, I think it could just run indefinitely. I agree with that.
Yes, indefinitely.
Because
Thank
it's
you.
getting energy from the sun.
But it doesn't need to. You know how? They got solar powered calculators, right? Have you ever put it in the sun outside?
Solar
Or
power
did you use
calculator?
the light from your house?
Yeah, well, either one for a solar power calculator. 'cause-
See, now you're trying to say, oh, it's a calculator. It works because they did it. But you look at me and you go, oh, no, you can't do it. And I keep saying, look, I solved the lights. I can get, and here's the thing. I went online and I said, can I run 200 LED lights off of one power source? He said, yeah, but you'll need to boost it for every 6 feet. Okay, I'm doing that. So now I can stack all the lights I want to on this project. So eventually, because even if it's giving me only a little power, I'm going to reach my goal if I can run as many LEDs and lights I want to from this power source.
As many as you want to?
That means I keep stacking up to the ceiling, or today I just keep
Well,
stacking
are you
them.
saying that you could run like
I skyscraper-
100, 1,000, whatever?
Yes.
Based on, but
If I keep amplifying
just
it,
the basic like conservation of energy, like how would that work? Because as you got more and more of them, they're going to require more
Okay.
and more and more energy.
now watch what we did again. Based on this battery. I build a battery that's 12 volts, 2 amps. But I'm only taking off a small amount of energy while putting the same amount of energy back into the battery.
I think the key is you got to measure the volts and the amps, not just the volts, in order
That's
to figure
called
out
wattage.
how much energy.
That's called
Yes.
watt, but I don't
yes.
need to measure the watt. All I gotta do is tell them if I'm taking this much energy off of it, on this side I'm putting that much energy back in, and why is the physics you're saying wrong when it says that it's the equal but opposite? So I'm running opposites. This battery power and this solar power are opposites.
Well, you've heard my case. I've heard your case. So, anyways, do you have like a website or a business name or anything? Because I'm going to post
have
this
Media
video.
Library, which I've been running for 31 years.
Okay.
I have Show Me Your Proof, which
Okay.
is on Facebook, and it's on my blog.
Okay.
So I have a blog, Show Me Your Proof too. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been running these experiments. I just decide because the people in my neighborhood don't like stuff like this. They don't like education stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I says, you know what? 31 years I've waited to help my people out. I got them still in my land over here, which I bought. And
Do you live right around here?
No, I live right here in the
You're right
White
there.
House.
Are you right there?
Yes.
Okay.
And these people moved in because my neighbor, Mr. Sears, died, passed away. So they came in here and says, well, we live next to the lot. It belongs to me. We had already bought it, paid the taxes on it and everything. So they were like, we're not letting you on this land.
Yeah.
So now look at it. And I can show you pictures of this cut and groomed, what's name, just like him, because he was helping me cut it.
Yeah.
But this is how they keep it. And I'm doing that because I already went to the police to
Okay.
get them charged. And I'm charging them rent for putting their car on my property.
Okay. I see. I
Okay,
see.
so I've been doing this for a long time, but here's the thing. They got us into this thing that only the scientists can create something new. Because soon as
Yeah,
if
I-
Bill Gates came
I
in here
agree
and
with
showed
you on
this,
that.
you wouldn't argue with him.
I agree with you on it's become kind of how to say it. It's kind of closed off to the public, and
Yes.
most people just sit around and watch TV or internet,
But I
Facebook,
needed
whatever.
it because that's never going to go on the grid. When
Yeah.
I take care of this problem, I will be running my stuff off of all of the projects I did because I got windmills that don't need the wind.
Yeah.
Now,
Windmills that don't need the wind.
right, windmills that don't need the wind. Now, how many types of winds are there?
What's the principle of that?
Wait a minute. Well, how many types of
Yeah,
winds are there?
it's not constant. I
No,
mean,
no.
How many types of wind?
Types. There you go.
Well, I don't know. I mean, fast and slow, I guess. Different
No.
directions. I mean,
No. See, that's the whole point. The reason why you can't get past that. What's a solar wind?
okay, that's another kind.
Okay, so it's
More
a
or
solar
less.
wind, which comes from the sun and stuff, which puts ions in there, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you have what they've already developed,
Well, I don't think the solar wind comes. I don't think all the ions actually get all
Yeah,
the way
but-
down into our
Yeah, no,
atmosphere.
but
Hopefully.
Remember Nikola Tesla? What he was going to do with the same power from
What
the sky?
what was he gonna do?
He was going to give free energy to the world.
I think what he was gonna do is like blast out. He was basically gonna create like a really strong electromagnetic
But
wave,
he
like
was getting his energy
maybe a
from
radio
where?
wave or something, just blast it out so high
He
that
said,
you
where
could.
was he going to get his energy from?
I don't know. I
sky.
actually
That's where he
didn't
built
study
it. He
him.
built the tower.
Okay, so he was.
He said,
Really?
I'm going to take energy out of the air, which should come from the ionosphere.
Okay.
And then he's going to take this antenna, take that, and then boost it, and he's going to spank it around the world to his other antennas.
Interesting.
And then he was going to boost up the power. But that's whether that's proven or not, we're saying that my windmill works on the same thing. Why? Because they have static electric motors. You put an antenna in the thing, and the motor turns.
Hmm.
So once you see this, right? Once you understand that, how come I can't build big windmill on the same principle? I put an antenna in the thing, it's up high in the thing, and then guess what? If you take it out, it takes less power if you get more leverage. We talk about leverage now. So that means as it turns, it's taking small amounts of energy, store it in the capacitors, build up a big surge, shoots it off like a radio does, and then pushes it and keeps it pushing. It's like spinning a basketball. You just have to tap it so often to keep it spinning at a steady rate. You just got a windmill that doesn't need the wind because
Mhm.
we're using the electric field in the air that's all around us. Now, how do I also know this? You ever heard of what is it called? What is the thing that goes across the ice and smooths it off? Zambini? Zambini?
You mean like at a hockey rink where
Yeah.
they smooth it out?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called, but I've seen those
Zambini,
machines.
we'll say that's close as I can get.
Yeah.
They have a Zambini battery. And
Uh-huh.
it's called an electrostatic battery. And it will run for 160 years, which is in the museum, and it's still running today.
Uh huh.
So,
Must get energy from somewhere.
yes,
I mean-
electric static.
I mean, so whatever Tesla was saying, I mean, I guess he was saying he'd get energy from the actual atmosphere, which there could be some energy in there that you could use
But if
and
they
then
keep you-
distribute it.
But if they keep you at that point, the only way you were going to do is do what I do, test it. And you
Yeah.
keep testing it. Because guess what testing it does? It means that I know more about this than you're saying I think I know. Thinking and doing is so much different. To say, look, if I didn't do it, I wouldn't spend thousands of dollars buying all this solar. If I'm not making progress, I just let it go because it's not working. But if it's working and I'm actually using the product, that's what I said, over time you go, well dang, you did create something. And I was like, well, that's the reason why they're giving me a patent for it.
Uh huh. Well, okay. All right.
I
So,
just asked you, could you have someone build a battery pack? Because
Well-
I'm not an engineer. I don't have to build a actual battery pack. I can buy one that does this, but I want to build one myself.
well, you want to design one.
Yes. And I wanted to do what your cell phone does. I wanted to pass energy through it, and then when you use it, don't use as much energy that you're passing through it. Which means the battery and the application should run at the same time.
Yeah,
So if I got this,
I don't know anybody that's going to do that project exactly.
if I run this,
But
at
the internet will
at
tell you how
12,
to do it. I mean, if you
Well,
just Google,
the internet, they don't want to talk about pass-through technology.
I'm pretty sure you could look up how to do that.
Trust me, I'm a reporter too with Media Library. That's why I call it Media Library, because I'm a librarian and a reporter, and I do investigation. And trust me, I've been looking for now 6 months to somebody explain pass-through charging and show me the schematics on it. It's so funny that no one's telling you that, and it's no YouTube videos talking about it. They say, "Oh, this is pass-through technology," and then they leave it as that. They don't tell you about it. They don't tell you the schematics of it, and it's why, because your phone charges.
Well, couldn't you just like connect it to the? I mean, I'm sure pass-through charging is a little more complicated than what I'm about to say because they probably want it to work a certain way.
Yeah.
But if you simply had, like, let's say you're charging 12 volts.
Uh-huh.
If you just put the 12 volts on the battery terminal so it's charging,
Uh-huh.
and then you put your device on there also, just hook it on. As long as your battery's not pulling so much energy that it's just like the charger can't provide enough,
Right.
it's gonna work. I mean, it's gonna,
So
the 12 volts from the wall that you're using to charge would
Whoa,
run
whoa, whoa.
like your light or
See,
whatever,
see.
and it would be charging the battery at the
break
same
that down.
time.
You saying it's pulling from the wall.
Yeah.
But you know what's coming through there, because if it's putting 120 volts into your phone, what's going to happen to your phone?
Well, I mean, the wall would be connected
to
to a
be-
transformer, go down to like 12,
Okay,
and then
so
that
down
12
to
would
5
be
volts,
on
right?
whatever you want, 5 volts, whatever
That's
you
with
need.
your battery phone, right? It's
Yeah,
like
so
5
there'd be
volts.
5 volts.
So now we got a number. See, when you talk about numbers and we talking about things, now we're talking about something educated. Because now we can ask that we know what the amps is and we know what the voltage is. Don't matter what is coming from the wall, it's going to knock it down to that voltage so it doesn't blow up your phone.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if I put it into a battery charger, which is giving off the same amount, that 5 volts,
Yeah.
and I put 5 gadgets on that phone, and the battery still charges up to full capacity when it was almost empty, something's not adding up there. And this is what I'm trying to get you to realize, is if you do that little small experiment, you go, wait a minute, how is this charging if it's pulling the 5 volts from the wall, can't get any more, and then all of a sudden you put your phone and your tablets on there and it's pulling 5 volts and 5 volts over here, that's 10 volts, and yet they all charge to full capacity. That's the little experiment you can even do.
Well,
And
I
then
mean, the
say,
way I understand it, eventually, if you kept adding things on, okay, for one thing, you're going to be going through a little transformer. It probably, let's say it puts out like 1 amp. It's rated at 1 amp or
Yeah.
something. And let's say your battery can put out, oh, you need what?
Can you cut?
Can I cut?
Yeah.
Oh, cut this? Okay, okay.
Sorry.